Hello. Today, I wanted to speak on the subject of sexual development. And I am no professional by any means, so don't take my word as clinical, but I've grown my own sexual development, so I've come from experience. The thing that I really wanted to talk about was the idea of your sexual development being either through family or tied to family in any kind of way. It should be a complete separate world from that, which a lot of the times is not the case. Either a family member showing you pornography or hearing sex going on in the other room or even seeing the sex, or having somebody, a family member, describe to you something sexual when you're unclear or unsure of what sex even is. That affects you. That gives you a form of twisted sexual perception. To what degree, to what extent, I do not know, but I think it may make the line blurry between what is normal or what is acceptable as a worldly view of sex. And even more disgustingly, if let's say you have your first sexual awakening, we could say, not physically but just in your brain where you feel it, and somebody is next to you unknowingly, but next to you, and you get that spark from, let's say, like a TV movie show, something, and they stay there, and you're too young to understand what's going on, but the older person should have somewhat of a idea of the tone of the movie, the things that are happening inside of the television, enough to either leave you alone with it or change the channel. And I don't know if that is lack of care or just unknowing to the point of ignorance or unattentive adults with children. My first, we'll say, sexual awakening was my cousin had found my grandmother or grandfather, excuse me, or both of theirs. I have no idea. Found their porno movies. Whenever they would go to bed, we would put it on the huge big back television, and we would watch it. And I'd get erect and just watch the TV. Watch the TV, and I remember kind of seeing it from like a third person view, where I'm seeing me, I'm seeing him, and I'm seeing the TV, and I see it all just as is, and it's just indescribable, unexplainable. I didn't know. It's like, not even what people say I know I was doing something wrong or I knew it was weird. It was just as is, two kids watching porn. And it was, in hindsight, I don't know if I'd call it horrible, but it was just unnatural, disgusting. It was pretty disgusting to think about now. But you cannot blame children for being children. We're only little. And then in my later years, we'll say around 9 years old, constantly hearing my mother have sex. Constantly. And I I think that does have ties to, I think, just your sex drive, I believe. It I think we'll say my situation in particular, I think it messes with your brain to the point where you don't know the controlling. You don't know how to control your sexual perception. You're so exposed to it that there is no right time. It just as is when it comes. And that makes normal, regular interaction tough. It makes it tough. It makes it difficult. Where you feel odd, you feel weird, you feel disgusting. You feel disgusted in yourself for thinking and feeling that way. So many intrusive thoughts. And I think that is the stage one of those thoughts. And I don't think it particularly has to be familial, but the idea of family being tied to it could add a disgusting layer that could diversify into something more complex in itself. But my brother, I remember we were only about 7 years old, I'd say. And a sex scene was coming on, a movie. And, my mother had changed it or skipped over it. And my brother says, I, why did you skip it? He's like, I want to watch. And, my mother starts, yelling out loud, not at him, but to her boyfriend at the time, saying like, "Oh, they're showing him pornos. Probably, yeah, they're showing him fucking pornos." Excuse my language, but that's the way she was talking, and it just that's like caring but inattentive. We're still right there in your presence. An opportunity. You can be opportunistic. You can take the opportunity given to you when a child shows something difficult. That's an opportunity. Every idea of a child is an opportunity because they're being built. They're being brought up. You are creating the culmination of the child. And the ideas of sex, maybe that is the way family should go about it, is opportunistic. Do not associate yourself with it and do not affect it at all. When they get around to it, they come around to it. But you should have no say, no take, no part in that. It's disgusting. It's filthy. And I wish a lot of these people took priority in things like this. the simple things, the little things in children, the things that matter. Good day.